Is Aliyah Henderson. She has 2 counts of aggravated murder.
Good morning, Ms. Henderson. All right, so we're going to first hear from, regarding your bond, we're going to first hear from the prosecutor from the state, and regarding charges against you, charges that you are presumed innocent, on charges that allow for you to have an attorney without cost. And after we hear from the prosecutor, we'll hear from your attorney, okay?
Just 2 days ago, Wednesday evening, Cleveland, Ohio, a man and his dog were out for a walk, right next to a school, next to a playground. His dog sniffed the ground, stopped, it wouldn't move. What they found changed everything. 2 suitcases, buried, 25 feet apart. Inside those suitcases were 2 little girls. Somewhere across that same city, a father's phone rang in the middle of the night. Investigators were on the line. They had news about his daughter, the little girl he had been searching for, fighting for, praying for 5 years. He had called CPS. He had gone to court. He had begged the system over and over again to help him find his child. And they found her. But it was too late. This is the story of Mila and Amor, 2 little girls who deserved the whole world and the people and systems that failed them. Stay with me, because this story needs to be heard. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are taking you through one of the most chilling cases to come out of Cleveland, Ohio. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button and join in on the conversation. All right, let's get into it.
A 28-year-old woman has been arrested for murder and child endangering. Charges expected, we understand now, at any moment against Aliyah Henderson.
So who is Aliyah Henderson? What is her connection to the case? Colton Molesky spent the day looking for that answer. So Colton, what did you find out?
Brian, Nicole, Cleveland police have said only that the person they arrested is a 28-year-old woman. They're not releasing her name until she is formally charged. Jail records show a 28-year-old named Aliyah Henderson was arrested for murder and child endangerment Wednesday evening. Law enforcement sources tell 19 News her arrest is connected to the death of the girls. And neighbors say that Henderson lives in the East 162nd Street house that was searched by police.
Cleveland, Ohio. South Collinwood neighborhood. It's a regular part of the city, residential streets, families, and right in the middle of it all, Ginn Academy. A school, a place built for children. Right next to that school, a field, an open space. The kind of place you'd walk past every single day without thinking twice. That Wednesday evening, that ordinary field became the center of one of the most heartbreaking discoveries this city has ever seen. A man out walking his dog had no idea what that evening would bring. His dog caught a scent near the fence line, close to the playground, and that one moment unraveled everything. 2 suitcases, buried in shallow graves, just 25 feet apart from each other, as if whoever put them there wanted them close. First responders arrived, investigators flooded the scene, and as the details came together, the weight of what had happened here became impossible to ignore. These were 2 little girls, half-sisters, who had lived their short lives in this very city, and evidence later revealed they had been living close to the very spot where they were found. Let that sit for a moment. The community that surrounds Ginn Academy, parents, neighbors, people who walk that same path every day, had no idea. Nobody did. And as investigators began to piece together who these girls were, one name kept coming up. One person who held all the answers. But before we get there, you need to know who Mila and Amor really were. The 2 girls found that Wednesday evening were Mila Chatman and Amor Wilson, half-sisters. Same mother, different fathers, both from right there in Cleveland, Ohio. Mila's father is DeShaun Chatman. Amor's father is a separate man. Both were involved with the same woman, Aliyah Henderson, at different points in her life. And both of these men had daughters they desperately loved. The last known photo of Mila and Amor together was taken in March of 2020, inside a living room, building a blanket fort together the way kids do. That image is now one of the only windows the world has into who these girls were when they were still here. DeShaun described Mila as happy-go-lucky, always smiling. Pink was her favorite color. He said she carried herself like she was royalty. She swore she was a princess, he said. She was a kid's kid. Amor's grandmother, Amor Wilson, came to the memorial site to grieve her granddaughter. A woman who loved that little girl and is now left with nothing but memories. 2 girls, 2 fathers, 1 mother. And it is that mother, Aliyah Henderson, who sits at the center of everything that happened next. Aliyah Henderson, 28 years old, Cleveland, Ohio. She is the mother of both Mila and Amor. Mila and Amor had different fathers. Aliyah had been involved with 2 different men at separate points in her life. DeShaun Chatman, who is Mila's father, and Amor's father. 2 different relationships, 2 different men. But both of those relationships produced daughters who ended up in Aliyah's sole care. DeShaun Chatman and Aliyah were never married. They lived together briefly after Mila was born, about a year. Then the relationship ended, and when it did, Aliyah left, and she took Mila with her. DeShaun last saw his daughter in 2020. Mila was just 3 years old. From that point, Aliyah moved constantly. No fixed address, always relocating, city, neighborhood, house, always changing. And with every move, the distance between these fathers and their daughters grew wider. Amor's father was in the exact same position, unable to locate his daughter, unable to get answers, because the one person who knew where those girls were kept moving and kept both men out. A 3rd child was also living in that home with Aliyah, a younger child. So Aliyah was raising 3 children, moving frequently and cutting off 2 fathers who were trying everything they could just to know their daughters were safe. DeShaun wasn't the kind of father who walked away. He went to court filing for emergency custody. Not once, 5 times. He called Child Protective Services. He requested police welfare checks. He followed every legal channel available to him. 5 years of paperwork, phone calls, court appearances, and closed doors. 5 years of not knowing where his daughter was laying her head at night. Amor's father was fighting the same battle. 2 fathers raising the same alarms. And getting the same answer every single time. Nothing. What makes this even harder to sit with is that Aliyah Henderson had a prior criminal history, including a domestic violence case. That information was in the system. These fathers were filing documents with their names on them. CPS had been contacted. And still, no one found those girls. Not until a man and his dog walked past a fence on a Wednesday evening. When investigators finally made the connection, they called DeShaun late that night. He said, "I just feel useless. I couldn't save my baby." A father who did everything right, who never stopped fighting, who trusted the system to eventually help him. And that system called him only when it was too late. After the discovery in that field, investigators moved quickly. DNA testing was conducted to formally confirm the identities of both girls and establish their relationship as half-sisters. The results confirmed what the fathers already knew in their hearts. These were their daughters. Aliyah Henderson was located and taken into custody, and it was at that point that investigators also found the 3rd child, alive, inside the home. That child was immediately placed into the care of Child Protective Services. Aliyah was charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder. As of right now, the cause of how Mila and Amor lost their lives has not been released. The autopsies have been completed, but the official results are still pending. Investigators have not yet revealed a motive or a timeline of exactly how long those girls had been in that field. And that uncertainty, that not knowing, is its own kind of pain for the families waiting for answers. This morning, March 6, 2026, Aliyah Henderson appeared in Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court for her arraignment. She was appointed a public defender. Her next court date has been set for March 17th, and her bond? $2 million. $2 million. For 2 little girls who never got the chance to grow up. The investigation is still active. Authorities are still piecing together the full picture of what happened inside that home and when. And as those answers slowly come to light, Cleveland is not waiting in silence. Here is the part of this story that is hardest to sit with. Not because of what Aliyah Henderson did, but because of what didn't happen before she could do it. DeShaun Chatman spent 5 years trying to find his daughter. 5 years filing emergency custody papers. 5 years calling Child Protective Services. 5 years requesting welfare checks. 5 years trusting that somewhere in the system, someone would listen. Nobody did. And here is what makes that even harder to process. Aliyah Henderson was not invisible. She had a prior criminal history, a domestic violence case that existed on record. Her name was in the system. These fathers were filing documents with their names, their children's names, their concerns, all of it documented. And still, 2 little girls remained unreachable. Now, Child Protective Services exists for one reason only: to protect children who cannot protect themselves, to be the safety net for the kids who fall through the cracks at home. Mila and Amor were falling loudly, with 2 fathers screaming from the ground below, arms open, begging someone to catch them. Nobody moved. DeShaun said it himself. I don't know how long she's been gone. I don't know how long she's been dead, but it could have been prevented. Those 4 words should make every single person watching this uncomfortable, because this was not a situation that came out of nowhere. There were signs, there were reports, there were fathers, present, willing, fighting, who wanted their daughters and were denied access to them at every turn. The question this case forces us to ask is not just about one mother or one household. It is about a system that is supposed to catch situations exactly like this one and didn't. How many times does a father have to call before someone picks up? How many court filings does it take before a judge sends someone to check on a child? How many welfare checks have to go unanswered before someone escalates? These are not questions with easy answers, but they are questions that Mila and Amor's story is now forcing onto the table, and they deserve to stay there until something changes. Because somewhere right now, there is another child in another home. And another parent on the outside knocking on the same doors DeShaun knocked on, and we cannot afford to look away again. Cleveland is not looking away, and neither should we. In the days following the discovery, the field near Ginn Academy was transformed. What was once just an ordinary stretch of ground next to a school became a place where an entire community came to grieve. Flowers, candles, stuffed animals, the kind of things little girls love, left by people who never even met Mila and Amor, but felt the weight of their story in their bones. Because that is what happens when a community recognizes that something has gone terribly wrong. People show up, not because they have to, but because some losses are too heavy to carry alone. Community members, neighbors, strangers, all united by the same grief and the same burning question hanging over that field. How did this happen here? How did this happen at all? And beyond the grief, anger, a righteous, justified anger directed at every door that was closed on these fathers, every call that went unanswered, every form that was filed and ignored. Cleveland is grieving, but Cleveland is also demanding answers. And so the names that were once unknown, the names of 2 little girls buried in a field next to a school, are now being spoken across the country. Mila Chatman, Amor Wilson. Mila and Amor did not have to end up in that field. They had fathers who loved them, fathers who fought for them, fathers who did everything the system asked of them and more. 2 men who never gave up, who kept calling, kept filing, kept showing up, because their daughters were worth every single effort. And somewhere in the gap between those fathers and those girls, the system that was supposed to bridge that distance simply failed. Failed to follow up, failed to investigate, failed to protect. And 2 little girls paid the price for that failure with their lives. DeShaun Chatman will never get that phone call back. He will never get the years back. He will never get to see his daughter grow into the princess she believed she was. All he has now is a photo from 2020, a blanket fort, and a memory of a little girl who loved the color pink. And if you are a parent going through a similar fight right now, being blocked from your child, being ignored by the system, do not stop. Document everything. File everything. Make noise. Because your child needs you to be relentless. Now I need you to drop your thoughts in the comments. How does this make you feel? Please share this video to hasten justice for the little girls. Like and subscribe to this channel for more updates on this case. See you on the next one.